Asia has a problem, but not that big. I would like to make 4 points. First, there is a problem. Second, there are more opportunities. Third, how we are resolving problem for opportunities. Fourth, how to check the reality of the remaining problem and hopefully to make them opportunity. First point, problem between China and US, South China Sea, cyber. These are bilateral, but some problems have been driven by domestic factors. China may think that China's human rights performance should not be a part of China-US relationship. But the US considers that it is a part of it. So it has been a problem. Long time ago, China think US human rights problem is a part of China-US relations. So we work on Martin Luther King. We demonstrated on the unfair US human rights problem that Afro-American face in 1960s, 70s. We rampantly interfered into American internal affairs. So US may think why you could not allow us to interfere. And we still interfere with each other. Whenever US issued a China human rights report, China would publish prepared US human rights reports with all data collected by our embassy in the US. These are no secrets, but these are partial records, not all records. US has more brighter side of human rights performance. So each side point to the negative side of other that does not assure that they have a scientific, objective approach. I would say, second point, we have more opportunities. When Deng Xiaoping made a phone call to the then President Jimmy Carter, could your country accept our students studying in the US? How many? 5,000 a year. By that time, 1979, when I was admitted to Fudan University. President Carter said, no problem, 50,000. And this year, over 300,000 students, probably one third of international students studying in the US coming from China. And trade. We may have a bigger trade imbalance, but the amount of trade is significant. China might export some 400 billion worthy of Chinese goods to America. And China might have imported some 160 billion worthy of US goods to China, not to include the service trade. Nobody forces the other country to import. Each imports voluntarily and happily, and also complain why you don't import enough. And we work on Iran, work on climate change. And probably today, Zhang Gaoli signed on behalf of China in New York. And we work on nuclear security, etc. Third, how we transform some of the burning issues to area of cooperation. Iran. US asked China to reduce oil importation from Iran in order to make this energy sanction on Iran painful. We were reluctant, but we cooperated by reducing the amount we want to import. U.S. was also cooperative to say you don't need to reduce all. As long as you reduce, that's good enough. So that's our cooperation. And how to make their Accra nuclear reactor not to be prone to proliferation. China suggested that I have technology to convert it. USA, welcome, let's work together. On Syrian chemical weapon disarmament, Putin persuaded Assad to abandon. US was unwilling not to attack on the onslaught of their people by chemical weapon. But the White House decided not to honor its word to attack. And China said, I'm willing to send my missile ship to safeguard the US warship, which would burn the Syrian chemical weapon. That's our cooperation. China-Japan had a tacit agreement not to touch it. So mainland China did not send anybody to the area. Taiwan sent, Hong Kong sent, we did not send. We know Japan sent a man to the rocks, sheet, and beacon. We pretend not to see until they nationalize the island to turn the private ownership to public ownership. We said, don't do. And they did. Then there are consequences, which is we send our government vessel into the territorial water and into the territorial space to tell them we can do something. So please don't do. And if they don't do, we do less. 3 years ago, we sent our official ship once a week into the territorial water. First quarter of this year, once every 2 weeks. If they would behave, we may send once a month next year, or once a year, 10 years later. They need to understand that we have maximized our effort not to send people. And Taiwan sent, Hong Kong sent, and we can send. If you would make a change to become a revisionist country, we have to. And both countries would lose. You lose more. Last year, the two countries made a memorandum of understanding on East China Sea emergent liaison mechanism. If two jet fighters would approach too close, they should talk through public channel in English and to manage to disengage. So temperature is significantly cooling, but the source of conflict remains. China-US 2 years ago made a memorandum of agreement on how to encounter the code of conduct of encounter in international sea and air. Similarly, we cannot avoid to meet, but we should manage not to collide, as what happened in 2001. That significantly reduced the chance of future collision. But theoretically, as long as the US would send its military asset to the region, as long as China would ask the US to declare and to escort, chance of collision remain. So I'm telling we have source potential of conflict, but we are managing to reduce the level of intensity of such a nightmare. My last point is As Jeff has mentioned, South China Sea is the driving force for China-US relationship in a negative term. But I also see that we are managing. For instance, China has its law, a PRC law on territorial water and adjacent water, released in early this century, which stipulates any foreign country does not automatically have a right to enter Chinese territorial space without applying for a permit and to be approved. This is in disagreement with China's commitment to UNCLOS of 1982. UNCLOS said anyone is free to enter as long as you would meet with the 12 preconditions of innocent passage that China signed, but China is unwilling to abide by. So China made a domestic law to supersede its international commitment 10 years later. It's bad. I don't like it. But when USS Weber coming into 12 nautical miles of Zhongjiandao, one of those islands, which is island, not an isle, of Plazo. China was unhappy, but China was not tough. China virtually has lived peacefully with this phenomenon. And US sent B-52 to as close as to 2 nautical miles of Huanyuanjiao, one of the 7 artificial islands, sometime last year. And the US sent USS Larsen into 12 nautical miles of another island, artificial island, Subi. China did not say you entered my territorial water. As China understood, artificial island does not qualify territorial space, and territorial water. Theoretically, US can fly over this artificial island. US did not. And China restrained by not saying this is territorial water, but coined a new word, close water, Jinghai. Why you come? US say, I want to exercise my right of innocent passage. But actually, US should say, I want to exercise my right of freedom of navigation. So Congress was unhappy. Why Pentagon guy don't say it's freedom of navigation? Because that means it's international water. It's not a territorial water. But the US government did not say it's freedom of navigation. At the same time, Chinese side did not say it is territorial water. So we manage such a sensitive cooperation, which may be little noticed. As long as China would keep living peacefully with the US freedom of navigation in high sea, in EEZ, or in the water close to the artificial island, I don't think China and US would have a contingency. As long as China would tolerate US warship to enter China's territorial water, and we would not exercise our domestic law, but abide by international law, I don't think there is a chance of military contingent. This is little noticed. Meantime, China has exercised its right under international law to use innocent passage right for its fleet to pass US territorial water. And possibly in the future, China would have more exercise of its right of freedom of navigation into the US EEZ. Then I think both can feel easy. The more China will do, the more China will be legally unable to disallow the US to do. The more US would watch China without incident, the more China would be mature to watch the US without incident. So China does not revise established law. For the transitional time, China's growth of muscle and interest in asserting its legitimate place in the world, and some turbulent behavior in engaging with the established power make America and others worried. But through a period of time of such sensible and cautious interaction, China might be accepted as long as it would not deviate from its commitment under international law. Then I think China and US would accept each other. The true question is how China would handle the International Tribunal's ruling next month. I hope all parties would be cooperative in working with the ruling. That would make others to further view China want to use existing international system to continue to peacefully rise, and the U.S. could feel satisfied without hurting China itself. In the past 3 decades, China hugely benefited from existing international system, which is established hard by the U.S. In my personal view, there is no reason why not to continue to accept it, as that would pave China's continuing growth as a major power to manage the world with little cost. China even does not need to make a new law, just use existing law to work with other major power to make the international relations predictable. Certainly, when China was weak, the system may benefit China. When China is rising, the system would restrain China. But through such a restraining, China could only benefit more than it would lose. Thank you very much.